Afternoon again, and welcome to part 2 of our vlog on furlough. We thought that one of the useful things to do would be to go have a question and answer session based primarily on the questions we've already been asked by our clients, and we'll see whether I can answer them. This is completely unscripted, so there may be a little bit of hesitation here and there, but live with us. Okay, so in these circumstances, you still have a decision to make, and the decision to be made is whether you are going to top up the employee's salary to what they currently earn, or whether you are going to, after discussion with them, reduce it to the furloughed amount that the government will repay. So the government will be repaying you 80% of their normal salary. Their normal salary equates to £2,500 a month. Therefore, if you pay them that normal salary and put in your claim for government support, you will be paid £2,000, and the extra £500 will be down to you. You can, however, with discussion and agreement with the furloughed employee, reduce the amount you pay to them to the £2,000 and fully recover that from the government. Right, so at £40,000, again on a normal standard monthly average pay period, you're in the realms of the territory where it will be costing you money even at 80% of their salary. Again, you have the ability to discuss with the member of staff and reduce their salary down to the £2,500 that you can reclaim from them, from the government. But it might be a slightly more difficult conversation with those members of staff. You also have the ability to set that limit, I believe, anywhere between their normal monthly salary of £3,333 and the £2,500 that you can recover. So again, really important to discuss these things with your employees and get their agreement. This is not a situation where you can easily make sure that this costs you nothing without everyone's help and support. That's exactly what we believe, yes. I do have to say that until we put the first claims in for people and see the response to the portal and the money coming back from the government, there are different interpretations that are possible, but that is what we and most people in the industry believe. It's very difficult, and I think you've got to go right back to basic principles on this. The people that can be furloughed and should be furloughed are those that are by definition redundant and do not have any work. If they have work, then really they should not be furloughed. This is where we have to start and look carefully at what these people do and how we can spread that workload around amongst people. One of the practical solutions that we have heard of is that some people are furloughing staff for 3 weeks of a 4-week pay period and inviting them back for 1 week to carry out the tasks that have been stored up, in a sense, for that 3-week period, and then go and repeat the process. Now, we're not absolutely sure that that works and is in line with the rules. We believe it's in line with the spirit of the legislation, but as yet, you're not guaranteed that that will work. Alternatively, you have to discuss with your members of staff whether one person could do 3 people's reduced roles, in a sense, and furlough 2 of those 3 people and leave the 3rd person employed fully under their normal rules. Yeah, it's a good question, and what we think is that you would only be able to claim for 3 weeks out of the 4, so claim for 3/4 of their salary for the furlough, so presumably the government support would be reduced by that amount, absolutely. It's not uncommon for staff to ask to be furloughed. The answer is technically the furloughing decision is made by the employer, but I don't think there's anything to stop the employee asking. So as long as an employer you agree with that situation, I believe that's perfectly acceptable, yes. Equally, you shouldn't have any difficulty getting their agreement to being furloughed if they have asked. Okay. This is a very difficult one. It is no secret that for a number of years, the revenue have not liked what we call personal service companies, similar to those that you describe. The initial rules on furlough do not and have not taken account of those circumstances. You can be furloughed and you can put a claim in, but your claim will be for the percentage of the £8,000 or so pounds of salary a year, not a month, which doesn't really help. Now, very recently, there has been an announcement by the Revenue that they will apply the standard furloughing rules to personal service companies that are employed in the public sector. Now, this fundamentally, I believe, is because for the last few years they have been taxed as though their income was employment income by the public sector body. But there are some that still don't fall into that category, so we're slightly uncertain how that would apply. I think it's safe to say that if you are engaged by the public sector through a limited company and you have had all your remuneration taxed as though it were income, employment income, then I think you will qualify. Beyond that, at the moment, I think it's a situation of this is one of the areas where the government announced that they wouldn't be able to support everyone. I think at the moment, without a change of heart, you really fall right between the cracks. I think there's absolutely no doubt that that is possible, yes. Okay, again, it's a common feature with questions that we're getting from clients on all support by the government at the moment is, what can I do to speed the process up? And unfortunately, the answer at the moment is not very much. As far as the furloughing grants for job protection are concerned, the intention is to have the HMRC web portal up and running by the end of April, with hopefully the grant monies being forwarded directly to the employers very shortly thereafter. But until the actual portal is established to ask for the right information to allow those payments to happen, it's impossible for us to say when the money will be advanced. But I think the only thing I would say is, at the moment, other than making sure that your furloughing process is done correctly and that your record keeping allows you to fill in whatever questions they are likely to ask on the portal, there's nothing else you can do to speed up that process. I think at the moment our advice would be that if you are looking to forecast the situation relating to sort of furlough income, it's probably sensible to aim for that being received no earlier than the middle of May. I think anything prior to that would be a bonus, and it is still possible that it might be slightly later. Again, we're slightly guessing and basing this on years of experience in things other than the current climate. But fundamentally, I think that's a fraudulent claim. Fundamentally, I think that there will be checks and measures in there that will ultimately potentially put your own furlough claim at risk and have possibly more serious consequences as well. If staff are furloughed, they should carry out no work at all. Now, from a practical point of view, we do believe that if you are simply looking at your emails once a day and forwarding them in order that someone else who is not furloughed can undertake essential work, that is not carrying out a revenue generating function, and I suspect, and our advice at the moment is, that that would be acceptable. I don't think there's any change at all to the redundancy rules under employment law. The situation is exactly as it was prior to furlough. Okay, thankfully the situation doesn't differentiate between any new employees and your wife. The situation is that in order to qualify for any furlough claim for grant government support, the employee must have been on the company's payroll, or partnerships or sole traders payroll for that matter, on the 28th of February this year. Okay, I think the situation is that if you are genuinely furloughed as a director of your own company, which we believe is acceptable, provided you don't carry out any income generating work for the company, then you can also make whatever claims you are entitled to make as a self-employed person. You need to remember, however, that the self-employment limit is 50% of your total income, so it might make the claim for self-employment not worthwhile. Okay, so the first thing to say is that we think it does apply to casual workers and zero-hour workers, and I think the way that the calculation works is to look at the average pay for those people for the previous 12 months, or again, if they've been with you for 12 months, to pick up a calculation from the salary 12 months previously for that period. However, you are allowed to exclude things like commissions and bonuses and that type of unusual payments from the furloughed amount of salary. Okay, the first thing is if someone is on sick leave or indeed on self-isolation, then those arrangements have to run their course before the furloughing process can be undertaken. But once they're out of that normal sick pay or isolation period, then a furloughing activity is permitted. So thanks for listening. I hope that some of those questions are useful. Appreciate that all of the responses are not completely 100% certain at the current time, and as things develop we will update some of these points. It covers the main things we've been asked over the last few days and weeks, and hopefully will give some insight into how the rules should be interpreted. We do intend over the next few days to put up a calculator on our website which should allow employers to look at the options for furloughing in various circumstances and what the overall cost to them might be. It's not possible to make it cover every circumstance, but it should cover the majority. If there are things that you still would like to talk to us about, please just ring as normal. Thank you for listening.